Hello and welcome to day 2 of this year's CRAPMAS. Let's find out what Santa left under my tree. Let's hope it's not another number 2. I've got a good feeling about this one. Let's find out. Ooh, Super Nintendo. Rex Ronan, experimental surgeon. Because that's what every child wants at Christmas. An educational game. Rex Ronan, experimental surgeon. It is an educational video game by Sculptured Software. Sculptured Software also worked on other games such as Doom, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, mostly the Super Nintendo ports. So this is their first, or at least one of their first original games, and they're now known as Acclaim Studios Salt Lake City, because once you do Rex Ronan Experimental Surgeon, you don't want to keep your original name. So basically, the whole game is about you entering the body of a CEO who's been smoking with cigarettes. And basically, you have to clean his body, inner space, or Fantastic Voyage style. So yeah, you're Rex Ronan, you're an experimental surgeon, you have a laser gun, and or whatever, and you use your abilities to kill the tartar on the teeth and the tar on the lungs and all that stuff. And meanwhile, the evil cigarette companies have sent microscopic robots to come in and try to kill you. The game also has educational questions that you can answer by shooting the floaty thing again for yes or not doing anything for no. And while that is I suppose a fun way to teach kids about education on smoking. I mean, just say smoking is bad and be done with it, but you don't need that many examples, actually. But yeah, so you have these floating things that are questions that you can answer, and if you shoot them to say yes and the answer is no, then you sort of have a bit of damage, or you don't have any bonuses. But that's admirable in itself, but they seem to stick them where you have like fights. Like, for example, here I'm in a boss fight, and I can't shoot the button or else I lose the points, but I have to shoot the boss. They also tend to have a lot of side enemies added to the boss fights, so you have to sort of fight bosses and be distracted by enemies and stuff. But yeah, once you beat the boss, you move on to the next level, and you have these fun little, very rudimentary but not unpleasant sections using Mode 7. So you have like these fun tunnel sections, and then ooh, I'm going into the lungs. So yeah, the section is not too long, not too painful. It's not like super hard like the Earthworm Jim ones. So then after that, we're in the lungs. Yay! Now, one of the things that I've noticed for a lot of these levels is that they start you off with enemies on the first screen, and usually like you just spawn and then there are enemies already attacking you. Could you imagine if Super Mario, for example, if in the Super Mario Brothers just had like 20 Koopas and Goombas just attacking you without the chance to even think about what to do? Then, of course, like every old game that tries to be cool but isn't really, you have a timer. In most games, when the timer goes 0, you just die, game over, you have to restart the level, but here it just counts as losing a life, which means you basically restart where you are with a full timer, so I don't see the point of the timer if it's that non-prohibitive, but also somewhat prohibitive. You can regain timer by getting the red and blue capsules. The boss fights are pretty much all the same type of boss. It's always that sort of hunter-killer from that HK from Terminator type of boss. So yeah, back to more subsections. Now you have these fun portals. So we're not just in Earthworm Jim. Now we're in Lawnmower Man, which is another great fun game to receive at Christmas from Santa. So yeah, now it's on to the other lung. And this one has a lot of emphysema. So see, it's sort of educational. You sort of have an idea of what's the thing you're clearing away. So that's kind of cool. But once again, enemies at the spawn point. No, no, no! If there are any aspiring game designers out there, you can't do that. That's just not fun. So yeah. Speaking of the enemies, they tend to pile up really quickly in the later levels. Once you reach a certain point, then you'll have enemies spawning pretty much at the same place, and they are relentless. Sometimes you get a free couple shots in here, like being at the right place at the right time, but there's a lot of times where you have this kind of weird, you're really overwhelmed really quickly, and they also come from off-camera. I don't think they respawn per se, but there's just a lot of spawners to start with. Some of the enemies, like this weird robot here, they shoot diagonally. The jumping segments, also, you jump in an arc. That's another thing that's kind of annoying with this game. So the trick here is to press up and jump, and then you'll just jump straight up. Even though your character physically looks like he's doing an arc, you'll just jump straight up. Now, of course, I ran out of time, and I ran out of lives, so when you're game over, you're not quite game over, you still have some continues. Thank God for small mercies, so you can keep starting again over at the level you were at. So that's not, at least it's not like start from the title screen when you don't have any lives left. You at least have a couple continues, which is always good. But yeah, you can get overwhelmed pretty fast. The enemies are all kind of bullet spongy, so that's the other thing. I'm not saying like enemies should be one-hit kills or whatever, but so yeah, it kind of sucks that you have like bullet sponge enemies along with pain pushback. Like when you touch the enemies or they hit you with their beams, you sort of get pushback or knockback. Sorry, pretty much like an Ninja Gaiden game. So yeah, mixed with the sudden need to do some weird platforming, and it can get pretty overwhelming pretty fast. In terms of fun itself, it's not the worst game I've ever played. I seem to be, I don't know, I seem to be in a good mood this year. I seem to be a bit more charitable with the games themselves. But yeah, this is, having had the choice between this and like any other game on Super Nintendo, this is kind of, it kind of sucks to have like an educational game. Gaming for me is time to like reflect upon oneself. It's time to relax. It's time to just have some me time, and to then have this intrusive notion of educational whatever's in games. It's like, no thanks. I don't want to play Bronchi the Bronchiosaurus or Packy and Marlin or Captain Novelin. I want to play a game where I can just shoot things, or I can just have a good story, but I don't need to necessarily like be taught especially after a school day. Can you imagine like coming home from like biology class and then having to play the game? I suppose you'd have a leg up on the question sections, but yeah, no, it's I've never understood that kind of like need to be so transparent. You can have your like if you're playing Metal Gear Solid 3 and like you start to get interested in how to fix bone breakages and cuts and stuff, like luxations and stuff, that's a better way I find to like introduce those concepts than to have like just straight up educational stop the game and read a thing kind of gameplay. I do find that anyways, video games shouldn't be necessarily the place where you learn things. Or at least learn like biology and math and stuff. Like it should just be like integrated in systems, but you should probably learn that shit in school. So yeah, now we're on to a level where we're just overwhelmed by a bunch of enemies. Like, I mean, look at the screen. Like, what am I supposed to do here? It's pretty intense. You also have to clear an opening in here because the blood clot results in a sort of non-standard game over or non-standard life loss, where you now start again at the bottom of the level, and you have to make your way back to the artery, and then now you can unclog the artery. This section gets a little weird here because yeah, you have these enemies here. You have your standard drones and your hunter killers and all that coming over, trying to like make your life miserable. So these are basically the boss characters. However, there seems to be a near limitless supply of these. I can keep killing them and killing them and killing them, but I'm gonna end up just having to fight the same 2 enemies over and over again. So I'm thinking there's something else I have to do. But since the game is throwing both the fact that this like the blood clot that keeps regenerating has to be cleared at all times, or else the timer counts down to your death, and then you have all these like super spongy enemies that are kind of pretty good at damaging you, that you have to keep that in mind. And then it's all like these spinning plates, and that's a thing that old video games used to do a lot, these like spinning plate designs where you'd have to like spin all these plates at once instead of like just mastering a system or 2 or mixing them up. So anyways, I died, and I was told that I suck and that the game was over, so I suppose that is game over. Well, I certainly learned not to expect anything good this Christmas, but there's 10 more gifts, so we'll try again tomorrow, won't we?